we just got to see one of the most exciting Players Championships in a while. And guess what? It's Masters season. We're 3 weeks away from the Masters. We got the Valspar Championship this week. So much to talk about. Maybe changes coming to the PGA Tour. Fairway to Heaven. We are live, taking your thoughts and opinions and breaking it all down in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all to Fairway to Heaven right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you're watching, please hit the buttons on your screen, whether you're watching live or on replay. Please hit them. It's free to do. It doesn't cost you a thing as we continue to grow this channel. Just keep hitting those buttons. Hit. And if you're watching this on replay, drop your comments. We will make sure to respond to all your comments and questions about this week's Valspar Championship. Which we are going to break down in moments, but I am your host, Phil Stifle, and we got Soldier Steve back from soccer land, back from purgatory, and Jason Sullivan right there. Good evening, gentlemen, and we are in Masters season here. We're in the 3-week tune-up to the Masters, and it got started in grand fashion last week with Cam Young winning the Players Championship. Let me just tell you this. When I saw him, and Steven, you probably said the same thing as having an outright ticket on Cam Young. After seeing him dunk his 18 tee shot in the water on Saturday, and you see him pull out the big stick on 18 on Sunday, did you do like me, Steven? Did you crap your pants and be like, this is not good?
I was in between that and NASCAR, so I had a second to change the NASCAR, and I didn't have to sweat that. I just got to be able to enjoy the beauty of a bomb that was. And you know what? I didn't really feel any sort of way. I didn't even think twice about it, even if NASCAR wasn't on, because he had the backing of some USA chants going up against Fitz. So you he kind of wanted a little bit of revenge. And you 375, he had the juice. He had the juice for that one. And it was a great ending to a great tournament.
Jason, first off, he skips last week's show for soccer, and then this week he says he didn't even watch the final hole tee off to watch NASCAR. What the hell are we doing with this guy on this screen?
Dual screen. I love YouTube TV. I had the dual screen going.
No. Do you ever feel like you just don't know anybody anymore?
I don't. I feel like I don't know this guy anymore at all.
Yeah,
Jason, exactly. 375 yards with water down the thing. Talk about the balls of steel from Cam Young not backing down. They said, and I didn't double check it, but on the telecast they said it was the longest drive on 18 in a round 4 of a tournament since they started doing Shot Tracker.
You know what's funny too is that everybody was kind of on Fitzpatrick for blowing it. He didn't blow anything. He played fine. He played really good actually on Sunday.
Absolutely.
I just thought Cam Young just had that look, and we all know that look. It's not necessarily always in golf, but like in every sport where a dude's like, you're like, this dude's winning. Like I could tell you on like 15 or 16, I'm like, this dude's gonna win. Like confidently putting. Like if Cam Young putts, we've said this for so long. If he putts, oh my God, look out! It's just,
since the Wyndham last year, his putter has been, one of the best on tour. And it can't, like you said, Fitzpatrick didn't lose that. Cam Young won it. If you want to blame someone for choking it away, you blame Ludwig Oberg for choking away, the 14 under. He was 14 under at some point in the tournament. That's who you blame. Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, didn't do anything wrong. You look at 17. I don't know how much you guys were watching. I was watching the whole final round. On 17, Fitzpatrick went to the middle of the green. Cam Young went at the flag. Cam Young had a chance at birdie on 17. Fitzpatrick really didn't. That's what it comes down to. Cam Young went for broke, right?
Well, it goes back to the whole: are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose? That's always the biggest thing. And Cam Young was just he was a killer down the stretch. I don't know. I don't know how you guys felt like having an outright on him. I didn't have anything on him, but like I just felt like he was going to win down the stretch.
Yeah, Cam Young is. Go ahead, Steven.
All Sunday, the commentator said if this is the day to go after 17, this is the whole placement. This is, and like you said, Young went after it, Fitz didn't. And Fitz actually, his drive, considering what you have at stake, you got the water, it's the final hole, to get out of the pine needles the way he did, whatever that is under there, and still be able to have a putt to force a playoff. Like you said, he didn't crumble under the pressure. He just got beat by a guy who wanted it more.
And Fitz was so locked in down the stretch too. Like Fitz, his tee shots, I mean, he was piping it down the fairways too. Like he was doing the announcers kept saying it. Like he would hit it, he wouldn't even look where it was going. Like that's when you're locked in. So he didn't do anything to blow it.
What do you guys make of the commentary that people are talking about how the golf fans were a little too rowdy or this or that and cheering USA, and that's not professional? I kind of think it's nonsense. You want to appeal to a bigger crowd. You want to appeal to a bigger audience. You want to grow the game. It wasn't like it was like throwing snowballs at Santa. It was, cheering. There was one dude on Thursday or Friday. I forget who it was. He was standing in the background on 17, and he was just a punk kid. He looked like he was smashed. He had the shortest, tightest of shorts on, but he just that was a little bit weird and uncomfortable there. But outside of that, I think the fans were what you want the new golf to be like, right?
I think it's the same crowd that says that is the same crowd that said that golf betting was bad and DFS was bad for golf. It's like, the old school guys think that, but like, look at how much DFS has grown the game.
Do we really need a bunch of 70-year-olds sitting quietly in a chair watching golf? Or do we want it to be you know how much money it costs to go to the Players Championship? Right. Don't you want these guys to have a little fun, Steven?
Especially on Sunday. Like if you're getting, like you said, if you're getting those chants on Thursday and Friday, and if it would have been like two USA guys going up a head-to-head, it might have been like a little cringe and weird. But you had two guys who were going head-to-head at the Ryder Cup who showed up and really gave us an amazing Sunday because Oberg couldn't, and they kind of stole the show from Oberg collapsing because of what they were able to do on those final three holes. So really,
I want to add two things to that. So first off, it's not like the rowdiness was while they were swinging. It was before and after shots, right? They were doing a very good job at controlling the crowd. But secondly, it's not like it rattled Fitzpatrick. It's not like Fitzpatrick shanked one into the water or anything like that. And those two guys embraced after the round, and I didn't even know it till after the round. They were they're TGL teammates. So they were Ryder Cup, opponents. They're teammates on the TGL. They both were very, very happy with each other and whatnot. It wasn't a big deal. The other thing I want to add to it is they announced on Saturday, I think it was, or early on Sunday, that for the first time they were going to drop the ropes. So the fans can run out up to like the 18th green to watch the winner putt it out. Normally the winner comes in the final group. So they actually did something else to help the fans, but then because the final group had no chance, it didn't actually matter. So nobody actually ran out on it.
I thought that it was because it was, USA. Well, it was like a whole Ryder Cup like type of cheering. That just made me think of like other sports. That stuff is good for sports. I think we're seeing that right now with hockey, like with USA finally winning. Like it's nothing but like these big events that draw in more people. That's great for the sport. The Olympics drawing in more USA hockey fans. That's huge. This drawing in more possible Ryder Cup fans. I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely great.
The game.
Real quick, obviously we've talked about it, and obviously it was a great performance from Cam Young. The putting is there. He's got the big stick. A little smidge of work, in the approach game still to do. But what does first winning the Wyndham, his first win last year, and now winning the Players, what's our expectations for Cam Young the rest of this year and going forward? I bet him, I don't even know how long ago. It was with a free bet I got on DraftKings at like 70-1 to win the Masters. It's come down all the way to like 26-1 or 27-1 now. Are you higher on Cam Young now or lesser on Cam Young now?
Can we post that comment?
Yeah, I'm going to put it. Is Cam Young winning the Grand Slam this year? Thanks, Josh.
It's funny because people kind of jumped off that bandwagon for a little while. He had a little bit of a slow start to the season.
Yeah, he did have a slow start to the season.
People kind of, I don't know, you kind of heard the chatter. Like it was so, everybody was talking. I mean, you were talking about it. A lot of people were talking about how he was one of the favorites to win the Masters and that this could be a year where he wins two and everything like that. And it kind of died off. And I mean, this is a big boy event. He won a huge event now. So he's definitely a contender. And that's 70-1 number is pretty sick.
Yeah. I have 3 outright bets for the Masters, all at 70-1 or 65 and 70-1. They're all right now way below that. Cam Young, Patrick Reed, and Akshay Bhatia. I have Bhatia and Young at 70, and I think I got 60-1 or 65-1 on Patrick Reed. They're offering me cash outs on all of them right now because of the numbers are so high. Yeah, they all want me to cash those bets out.
We don't like this.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think about Cam Young and where this puts him? You know what I mean? Like what's next for him? Is he really in contention to win a major this year? I mean, it doesn't happen often, winning the Players and the Masters or the Players in another major, but it does happen. It happened last year with Rory. You know, Tiger's done it. It has happened before. What does this put him in that upper echelon for good now?
I think so. I think it kind of puts him in how we view JJ Spawn last year after he came in second place at this event last year. And so I feel like the conversation moving forward for Cam Young is his name is always, you know, he's allowed himself to be at that table of can he go out there and win it? You know, his name's going to be brought up in every single signature event, every single major for the rest of the season. And you're going to be able to go back to the 18th hole, to the 72nd hole of the tournament last week and ask, does he have what it takes? Does he have that confidence? Can he and go back to that drive? And I mean, that's gotta be like a top 10 drive of all time, right?
Well,
if you think about it, with 375 at for you got the water to your left. Look what you just did yesterday. Look at what's at stake. You got the backing of the fans behind you to add to the pressure. And so how can you not think moving forward that his name is going to be up there with, you know, maybe not the Scotties and the Rorys, but he's going to be up there with the Xander, with Bryson for the majors, with Rahm, 100%, I think.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it into perspective. They've already, 3 weeks in advance, they've already announced the pricing on DraftKings for the Masters, which I think it's far too soon to do it. There's so much that can happen with Rory's back, with Colin Morikawa's back. I think they, have, obviously released this pricing. He is now ninth. He's at 9,200. Guys priced higher than him in the Masters. Oberg, Colin Morikawa, Fleetwood. Obviously, Rahm, Bryson, Rory, and Scottie are up there. Xander's ahead of him in pricing. Who actually Xander played pretty well, all things considered, this past weekend. Do you think that, Jason, 9,200 for the Masters, ninth highest guy after winning the Players, is that a fair price for him?
No, it's not. But I think you can argue, what's Scottie's price? 14?
Scottie is a flat 14. Rory is 11.6. Bryson 10.2.
Why is Scottie 14?
Yeah.
When you basically can't go down low into the sixes. So what's it's
pretty much made Scottie unplayable.
I agree with you too. It's like, why are we putting it out? I like that they put it out a little bit early, but this seems a little bit much.
I think 3 weeks in advance. I don't mind. If you want to release the prices on, say, Saturday the week before or Friday the week before, that's one thing. But with everything that's been going on with golfers getting hurt this year, I think the pricing is out far too soon. And I could say I would think he should be right around where Xander is at 9,600 at this point, after winning the Players, because it is the Players. It's one of the hardest tournaments to win. And he won it with balls of steel. So, anyway. Let's get to this week, though. We are going to Innisbrook Resort Copperhead course for the Valspar Championship. We're winding down the Florida swing here. And it's a decent top end of the field. The bottom end of the field does, drop off pretty far. But this is another one of those courses. It's not a Pete Dye design. It's one of those grinder courses that plays like a Pete Dye course and a Pete Dye event. And this is one of those weird events because in a 4-year span, we had back-to-back winners twice in Paul Casey and then Sam Burns. So, Jason, what do we know about Innisbrook and Copperhead here, and what are the golfers going to face here this week?
7,352 yards, par 71, Poa Trivialis greens that are going to be average in speed. 74 bunkers, water on 6 holes. You can definitely get yourself into trouble here, make some big numbers. Extremely tight fairways, a lot of water, a lot of elevation changes. You'll see that especially off the tee. You'll look, you'll you'll see the elevation changes to the green. Fairway rate here of only 55%, so definitely club down course. So you got to make sure that when you're doing your research, that if you're looking tee to green numbers and off the tee numbers, that you're looking at Betsperks or anything like that. You're looking at the less than driver courses. Very tough par threes. Par fours are, you just kind of have to tread water on the par fours. You're not going to score much on the par fours. And then the par fives, obviously, just like any tough course, you're going to have to score on the par fives. Greens are super hard.
There's 4 par fives on a par 71. So
and the greens
par 5 scoring is very important.
Greens are super hard to hit here. So you want guys that are going to hit the greens or be good around the greens, that's for sure. So,
yep. Steven, what do you got to add to that? Anything else you've read?
The course expert, he really nailed it there. I was looking down I
do have one key thing to add. So let's hear what you got.
I forgot something.
I think it's a great course to have to follow the API and then the players, right? It's you're getting a top heavy, field this week, but what you're asking these golfers to do is you put the driver away, have to think, you're going to have to take shots from multiple different angles on the same hole sometimes, you know what I mean? So I feel like guys who can, like Jason said, bogey avoidance, and give me an elite putter this week. A guy who can go out there, and if you can go out there and spike for 1 or 2 rounds and give yourself some leeway, because you're going to go out there and hit some play some bogeys. It's just you're not going to play a bogey free 4 rounds. So give yourself that leeway of some holes, and so that's what I'm looking for in scrambling. Guys who can scramble because of the tree line fairways.
Don't forget about the snake pit either.
The snake pit, obviously.
Yeah, there you go.
That wasn't what I was going to go with, but that's a
I was just going to say that I was listening to Pat Mayo, and he was saying that the winner of this tournament has never finished under par on the snake pit for the week.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't get a lot of publicity for being difficult.
There's actually only, per Rick Run Good, only 3 holes on the course average a score under par. 3 of the 4 par 5s. But you were talking about accuracy and missing the fairway and how narrow they are. Rick Run Good on his show this week on his DFS preview actually did like a GPS satellite, overlook on the holes. And the fairways are actually really wide, up to 280 yards, 290 yards. When it gets to 290, they shrink to like 15-foot fairways. So I actually think accuracy matters. You want to hit the fairways, right? But I actually think a little driving distance matters too, because you're going to see a lot of people teeing off with irons. And the guys that can hit their irons the furthest and club down the furthest will get, because driving distance matters on more than just the driver. It matters with every club. So I'm not focusing on just accuracy or distance. I'm focusing more on total driving and good driving and stuff like that, because these guys are going to be using 5 irons or the classic 7 wood, which everybody loves to pull the 7 wood out of their bag now. It was just really weird. So many holes are super wide, then bottleneck from 285 to 310, and then open back up again. So it's something to keep in mind here this week. All right, so we've got only 3 guys in the field, 10K and above. You got Xander's leading the board at 10-9. You got Victor Hovland, who's the defending champion, at 10-4. And you got Akshay Bhatia at 10K. I'm going to throw Matthew Fitzpatrick in the conversation because I think at 9,800 he's a little mispriced. I think he should be 10K as well. So we'll start with you, Jason. Those first 4 names I throw out there, do you like any of those 3 names? And do you think any of those 3 names are good course fits here this week?
So biggest cop out ever. I like the top 3, all of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which ones I'm going to go. I think I'm going to play Xander. I liked what I saw from him last week, getting the putter going a little bit. Obviously, the short game hasn't been great this year, so that's a little bit of a concern. That was my initial thought, and then I really like Hovland. Obviously, he won here last year, so he's good on this kind of course. His approach game is just super solid, and he's been better with the putter lately, which is
gain strokes putting 2 weeks, 2 events in a row.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, it's one of those guys that his short game normally stinks. So if he starts heating it up on the greens, it's impressive. And then I was looking at Akshay, and my first thought was no on him because of the price. And then I started looking at his numbers and everything like that. Like, I don't see a reason to not play Akshay this week, to be honest with you. I mean, he's been locked in. He really wasn't great last week. I think his around the green game suffered a little bit last week, but he still finished 13th the players. So I like all of them. I'm a little bit I think I'm going to be off of Fitz, honestly, because I think ownership's going to be super, super high and doesn't have the greatest course history here. But I like the top three. I'm not 100% sure other than Xander who I'm going to play.
Out of the top three, I've already built 20 of my 21 lineups, and I went Xander for everything you just said. And I think he was also a little weak with the driver last week. He sprayed it a little bit, but he's not going to use his driver very often this week. So
he still hasn't fully put it together. Like he's finishing.
He every week he's taking a step forward. This is another week I think he takes step forward. And I love out of the top three, I do love Xander this week a lot. I think I'll eat the chalk on Fitz because I think Fitz played pretty fantastic golf last week. And Fitz is a guy, he's not going to win an event, Matthew Fitzpatrick, at 21 under. But when a course is playing at 10 under, 12 under, 14 under, which this event's normally in that 12 to 14 under range, that's prime for Fitz to hang around, make a couple birdies on Saturday and Sunday, and then be in contention.
I think it's a little bit, one more point. I think it's a little bit funny too how, so Xander's obviously coming back from an injury. It took him a little while. It actually took him a long while to start to look the way he's used to look. But I think it's kind of funny that he's not getting as much respect, kind of like he's like slowly building. Whereas like a guy like JT has one good week and everybody's like, oh, he's back. It's like,
you're not wrong on that at all. Yeah. Steve, what do you got in these first four names that I'm bringing up here?
I actually loved really everything I saw from Xander last week. I know he had a bad Saturday, but you're gonna spray it a little bit on, and I don't really think he sprayed it. I just think he had some missed shots, but those second shots were incredible. And playing out of that rough with some of those shots, the guy went 14 for 14 on Friday from hitting fairways.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't know. And what you saw him do on the back nine on Sunday to bring him back to be third, I mean, that tells me he is more back than somebody who, he had a minor injury, but Ludwig, someone like that, I think had more of a horrible back nine that just made what he did for those first 3.5 rounds completely, because we've seen that consistently from Ober. I actually didn't really like what I saw from Hovland this last week. I think a lot of what he hit a lot of uncharacteristic around the green shots that kept him in contention, and you didn't see his name at all Sunday. He wasn't even a conversation. And I know because I had him in almost all my Morikawa lineups that if he just would have played a little bit better, I'm winning a lot of more money than I did, right? The guy who I'm going to out of all for these first three is Akshay. I mean, he showed absolutely no real rust coming from a win to get a T13. The way he's able to shape shots on a course like this, I think he's creative. I am more than comfortable with him. He got a T17 here in 2024. I just think where he's at in his game, he's going to be my first click. And I'm with you on Fitzpatrick, but I think Bridgman really could possibly be in the 10Ks too. The guy's leading FedEx, and he's leading the points right now, and he hasn't finished worse than T18 all season.
Yeah.
And so you want to talk about a guy who's probably being misplaced too in the Masters. That's one. So he's a prime example.
Like 73, 7,400 in the Masters. It's ridiculous.
Of why you can't. Yep.
I mean, you segue. I was going to say, getting into the 9K range, they finally got Bridgman up into 9Ks at 9,600. And I got to ask the question, does that affect your decision-making on Bridgman this week? Obviously, it doesn't for Steven. Does it for you, Jason?
I don't think it can. I think he's been the best golfer on the tour consistently this year. I think I heard a stat right before we got on here that Bridgman's lowest finish this year is higher than any finish Ben Griffin has this year. So I think his lowest finish of the season so far, he's played 7 events, and I think his lowest finish is 18th. I mean, he's doing it
Griffin catching strays
last week, and I say the same thing on this week. It's like he's doing it on every course. Like what do you say?
He said
Ben Griffin's catching strays.
He should. He sucks now. He's back to being Ben Griffin.
He's back to being a realtor, Ben Griffin, or whatever you were doing before your little little outburst.
Bridgman's been awesome. I mean, he's so consistent on long courses, short courses, hard courses, easy courses. I don't know. I think he's easy to play.
Now that everybody's on board and understands how good Bridgman is, do you think that affects his ownership? You said Fitzpatrick's going to be super chalky. I kind of feel like Bridgman, to me, when I look at the whole entire card, I think there's 130 some guys in this field. I only think there's like 20 or 30 playable guys. And I think everybody knows that. And they're all going to gear towards certain guys. Bridgman being one of them, Fitzpatrick. Are you comfortable playing Jacob Bridgman? Just say he gets up to 24, 25% ownership at 9,600. Are you comfortable with that?
I have him at like between 25 and 27 was my guess for ownership. Okay. And I think he hits that. And I think I'm more confident in him than anybody else in the field right now. I think there's going to be about 5 guys that are going to hit that 25. Fitz's course history worries me a little bit. His game's been good, but he's been a little more hit and miss. Bridgman's just been so good every week, and he's won a tournament this year. So,
all right, I got to bring up 2 more names in this 9K range, and anybody else you guys want to talk about, because Jason, you already threw straight towards Justin Thomas, who has only been about 2 weeks, and I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. And honestly, Justin Thomas played pretty damn phenomenally last week. If you just take away that one hole that he triple bogeyed. Was it the 6th hole, the one you got hit under the tree? If he doesn't do that, he might win the Players Championship last week, right? I want to get your guys' thoughts on him and Brooks Koepka, who actually is starting to put some things together now 4 weeks back on the PGA Tour. This is an event that Brooks Koepka, I think, can actually win and then get himself back into like signature events and stuff like that. So, Steve, thoughts on JT and Brooks Koepka this week?
Those are my other 2 names that I really like in the 9K. It doesn't take much for me to get on the JT train. So I saw plenty of goodness from him in these 4 rounds, and the back, plenty of goodness. His back doesn't seem to be bothering him.
English, this place.
And the only thing that worries you when you think of Justin Thomas is how he can spray it sometime off the tee. But with the driver kind of being taken out of his hands for some of these holes, what he's able to do with his irons, I feel like really gives him that advantage. Just to go back to Bridgman, that putter could be that thing that separates him for how good he is putting, that we could see him with like an outrageous lead, like what we've seen a few times earlier this season with some golfers. And Koepka, if he could have a week like what Bridgman does with the putter, he's back. That's the one club that is really holding him back, but he's getting better each tournament that he's in. And I think this is a good week to unleash him.
Yep. Jason, any thoughts on those 2 guys or anybody else in the 9K range?
Yeah, I like both of those guys. Koepka, I actually almost bet. I thought long and hard about making him a bet this week. The putter's the one thing that, like Steve said, like that is a little shaky. I think he's like 92nd in the field or something.
Right, but the last 2 weeks he played the Cognizant and the Players. He had plus putting.
Yes.
So it is trending in the right direction. And you guys say putting matters, and it does matter on this course. But from everything I've read, spike putting, and they're both spiking. His putting's spiking in the right direction right now. Now it could spike in the other direction, like that. But
he's a Florida boy, so he's used to these kind of greens. So
exactly,
I like
JT and Brooksy are grinders too. They don't win events at 25 under. They win grinding events. This is a grinder event here.
I'm probably more confident in Koepka just because we've seen him do it twice now, whereas JT's been good literally once. But
do you you threw strays at Ben Griffin. We still got Ben Griffin priced in the 9K. We still got Jordan Spieth here. We still got Patrick Cantlay at 9,400. Again, this is not a super strong field. It's not a bad field. But again, some of those guys should be in the 8s, and some of those 8K guys should be up here in the 9s.
I actually like Corey Connors this week. Super good course history. Starting to come around a little bit with the iron game that had kind of left him for a while. And he's been really good the past couple of weeks. Little high on the price, but then you look at I thought he was a little high on the price, and I looked at Cantlay being $200 more. And I'm just
the problem again there is what because I had a lot of Corey Connors last week in lineups last week.
He was also 7,000 last week, not 90.
But the thing is, last week, the thing that he was not, he never had a chance to win last week, but he was on the leaderboard a lot of the rounds.
Yeah.
And one thing, I saw him miss 3 or 4 6-foot putts, 4-foot putts last week. So when Corey Connors isn't putting the ball well, that like he's going up, except for with the putter, which is going down, and that kind of concerns me with Corey Connors this week.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so 8K range, lots of names, that are playing good golf or can be playing good golf. Obviously, it starts with Nikolai Højgaard, Sahith Theegala, Spawn. Everybody's popular. He's probably going to be 28% owned. Rio hits up. Satsune. There's a lot of names down here. Jason, we'll start with you. Where are you at in the 8K range this week?
It sucks that Rio is going to be so popular because he's the play, I think, obviously. But
first bet I made of the week was Rio.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. Comes in great form. I mean, he finished 4th here last year too. Which I mean, what's not to like about this guy? He's especially in this kind of course. This is the kind of course he can win on. It's hard to not like him, even though I think 30% easy this week.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there's not a lot in this range, to be honest with you, that I like. I do like Højgaard. I think he's. I mean, over the past 36 rounds, he didn't look all that great last week, but he's still middling results in these really tough fields. So I just think he's better than most guys in this range right now. So those are my 2 guys that I'm going to play in this range.
Steven.
I like Theegala. I think, again, it was the driver that took him out of it. His accuracy off the tee last week that took him out of it. But he's another guy where that's going to be taken, away from him. So he's not going to have to think about that. And his approach play is just and how creative his creativity that he's able to do and everything. He's one of those guys. And then Max Homa. I just think you talk about a guy who can go and like you just mentioned about spiking with the putter. He had a shit ton of birdies last week, but he also had a shit ton of bogeys. So it's you got to take your pick your poison with Max Homa, but
it's another grinder course, and every event Max Homa has won in his career has been a grinder. He's won armors and stuff like that.
I bet him too. I just think that this is it's one of those fields where it's top heavy, but it's not top heavy enough where you'd be surprised if you saw him, but you also wouldn't be surprised if you
gotta understand. Everyone's hyping this field up, but it's a weak field after this. You know what I mean? After these first 10, 15 names, it gets weak. So Max Homa is better, even inconsistently right now that he is, better than 50, 60% of this field. So
I do play the guys with low upsides, and I think his upside is not that high.
I think he's been playing a lot better than you give him credit for this year. We gave Justin Thomas a shout out for surviving that triple bogey on 6 in this 8K range. I'm not playing him, but I just got to shout out Keegan Bradley, Captain America, because in round 1 he had a quad. He followed it up with a bogey. So over a 2-hole span, he went 5 over par, and still managed to make the cut. And then actually got, what did he finish, 24th or 23rd last week? He climbed up the leaderboard by Sunday. So I love when I see a golfer, whether you like the golfer or not, just have a complete and total meltdown and not let it affect them the rest of the tournament.
I will say with my last thing on Homa is the difference. What I see in him this year is when he hits a bad shot, he's not looking confused as to why was that a bad shot. He instantly knows. And he's able to, the next hole, if he gets a bogey in that hole, he's instantly able to adjust and know why that was a bad shot. He's not looking as frustrated. He's not looking as confused, taking another shot after missing, horribly. So I feel like that's the difference in the confidence level in his game is what I'm seeing more.
All right, 7K range starts at the top, 7,900. With recent winner Ricky Castillo. It's got a lot of other interesting names here. Seabez, Patrick Rogers, Bud Cauley, recent, runner-up Austin Smotherman. Just to name a few names there. Jason, we'll start with you again. 7K range. Do you like any names in this range a lot?
I like Smotherman, probably the best in this whole range. I just think he is finally showing that, we're seeing that he's not afraid of these big boy events. I mean, this isn't a big boy event, but we're seeing that, last week, he made the cut. He didn't play particularly well. He's shown some winning upside. I worry about him a little bit on tougher courses, but I'm trying to think of who else I like.
He doesn't hit the ball very far. but he hits it pretty straight. And he's an average enough putter that he could spike. I think Smotherman's I think Smotherman should be 79, 81.
I think
so.
I
mean?
I like
put Ben Griffin and him on the board, and I'd be very, very content with it.
I do like Bud Cauley in this range. He finished 4th here last year, and he's just another iron game guy. Like he's really good with his irons. So he's one of those guys too that like his hot streaks come few and far between, and when they do, he goes like 4 weeks in a row of being really good, and then he sucks. So I like Bud Cauley.
Yeah, I'm high on Bud Cauley. Steven, what do you got in this range here?
Just to add to Bud Cauley, 18th at the API, 32nd last week. So he's, for his standards and at this price, I mean, I would take another, in the top 20, top 25 from Bud Cauley at 7.5.
Never gonna win.
One guy,
you don't need him to win.
Yeah, you don't need him to win. Exactly. Give me some Billy Horschel this week.
Yep.
T4 last year, T13 at the API from, putting, sort of deal. And he's from Florida, right?
He's a
Florida guy, right?
He's a Gator.
Yeah. So he's a name. And Mac Misner, for the same reasons that Jason likes Smotherman, the iron game.
Yep.
So, and he's made the cut both times he's played here. Yep. So history is good enough.
I'll throw Patrick Rogers' name into there. Ricky Castillo as well. Seabez, John Perry. They're all names.
I don't mind that one either.
Yeah, John Perry's a really strong play this week. Again, these are guys that aren't contending at the Players or have a chance at signature events. Some of them aren't even playing in signature events. But when you get into a field like this, there isn't much in the 6K range. And you don't need to. Even if you want to play Xander, you don't have to dip much, if at all, in the 6K range. But if you definitely got to play some of these guys. I think we named every name that. See, the thing is, the only difference here, when you look throughout this 7K range, we just named like 6 or 7 names. I think everybody's going to be playing those same 6 or 7 names, and I don't see a spot where you can get different in this range. Are you going to go and are you going to try to play a Steven Yeager this week or a Marco Penge this week? Are you going to go Tony Finau this week? No, you're not. So I think this is a week where you almost have to ignore ownership percentage.
I do like Nirgard Peterson. I like his long iron game. I think I'm hoping he's going to be super low on this week, but he's 6th in the field and 200 yards plus, and then tee to green on less than driver courses, he's 10th. So I think that could be. I bet him. I think it's a sneaky play in DFS. 7,400.
What about some Taylor Moore?
I don't mind him either.
I like. He played pretty well. Yeah, he played really well, and I think Jason, good call, because didn't you in your notes, wasn't he at one of your names at the very
fell apart over the weekend? But
yeah, but hey, at this price, and even last week's price, if he makes the weekend, those are good points.
I did like before he withdrew William Wowie Maui, but he withdrew, so he's off the board. All right, 6K range. Steven, do you like any names in the 6K range? I did play 3 guys 2 times, but that's it.
No, I for show purposes, no. For show purposes, I did come up with some names. You could go with Adam Hadwin, previous winner, T21 in Puerto Rico. Davis Riley, he's at 4 times he's played here. He's made 3 out of the 4 times, 7th, T19th, and a 2nd. And maybe some Chandler Phillips
last year. Did they not? Didn't every single person know to man bet Davis Riley last year to win this event?
I wouldn't mind betting him this year either. Really? To be honest.
Yeah.
I just think if you have to drop into the 6K,
he was like 360 to 1 too.
Yeah, he was. He was very high.
Chandler Phillips was my other name in the 6K.
Better than people think he is. Chandler Phillips.
Yeah. How about David Ford? Drives the ball super straight. I don't know how to say his name, but is it
Marty Dow?
Dell? Is it? What do you say, Marty Dow?
Marty, that's what he calls himself.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But he just popped for me in a couple key stats this week.
Super good on approach.
Yeah, they're the names I'm going with. Ford, Doe.
I just worry about those 2 guys. I like both of those 2 guys a lot. I've played them a lot this year so far. I just worry about them on tougher courses. That's the big
thing. I'm just playing them each twice, and that's it, just to kind of spread it out went a couple, stars and scrubs lineups just to mix it up a little bit. Because again, I'm playing literally every name I've played this week is a chalk lineup or chalk name. So I had to find one or two guys just to kind of, break it up a little bit. So
you went with Party Marty? The new Party Marty?
Yeah.
Question for you, Phil.
Marty. I love it. All right. Let's see where we're at.
Got a question
on the board.
Oh, Phil. Phil,
Go
question, because you really like showdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
On a week where we're thinking that there's going to be a lot of chalk, is this a good week to really dive into showdowns? Since that we feel like we know the guys who are.
I'm always playing showdowns. I don't take weeks off from showdowns, so I'm always
for the people who don't normally. Would you say a week where a lot of golfers are going to be chalk? Is this a good week to kind of go in and do showdowns, since you can kind of maybe get lucky with some guys who are going to spike that maybe are going to be so low owned?
So the number one rule for me in round 2 showdowns is stick to my player pool and pick out 3 or 4 of the golfers from my player pool that had the absolute worst Thursdays, because then their ownership dips.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing out a hypothetical here. Say on Thursday, Justin Thomas, overall is 25%. And on Thursday, he shoots +4, right? He's going to drop down to about 7% ownership on Friday. And he's still a good course fit. He just had one bad round. Now, you don't know if he's going to make the cut, but you don't care if he makes the cut. So I guess to that extent for round 2, what you're saying is very important if you trust my philosophy on building showdown lineups, which is finding the guys that had the worst possible rounds on Thursday that are still great course fits. So that would be what you'd go with. Look for the chalk guys that are great course fits that had bad Thursdays, and that's who you're playing on Friday. That's how I've always found success.
I like the idea of sticking to your player pool and showdown.
The only time I ever deviate from my player pool is very occasionally on Sundays, because I try to find on Sundays with showdowns, I try to pick at least 3 guys that are in the top 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That have the best chance of move. Like, you want a guy from 10th place that's going to move into 5th place. You want a guy in, 6th place that's going to move into 3rd place. Yeah. I try to stick to it. But on the flip side, I also try to, get at least 3 guys in the top 10 in my lineup. I never pick whoever's in first place in my showdown lineups, ever. I never do. All right, let's put the board up. Elise last week took the title on the DFS, so this is where we stand. And Jason Steven and I both, I had Oberg and he had Sanders, so we both lapped Jason a little bit in the one and done. Jason,
can we talk about how I've had 2 straight WDs before the tournament?
Oh.
So whoever you pick, I am taking out of my player.
Yeah, I want
to bet on whoever you pick.
So right now, I want to pick Bridgman, but I'm afraid that he's going to hurt my DFS. But I'm going to pick Bridgman.
Are you doing? You're going right to the one and done. You're going with Bridgman. Okay. So I have actually not put Bridgman in a single lineup yet this week.
You probably shouldn't.
I'm happy with that. Steve, no, I guess I go next, right? I'm going with Brooksy. I'm burning the Brooks card in one and done this week.
Nice.
I think Brooksy's a great one and done play this week. I don't know if I would play him in a major, so
I don't know if I would play Bridgman in DFS anymore. Just throwing that out there.
But his back is shot this week. He's having back surgery.
Really season over.
Yo, real quick, Steven, before you go, because Colin Morikawa screwed everybody last week, right? I'm not pissed at that. Shit happens, right? You get hurt. What I'm pissed at is Ryan Fox having gallbladder surgery or gallstone surgery, and it didn't come out till after, like, he had already had the surgery, and they hadn't announced his withdrawal. Like, that fucking
popular play too.
The same thing last week with Knapp. It's like, if you knew that you were sick and your back hurt, why the hell didn't you withdraw? Like, why'd you do it at the last second?
Yeah, Fox, we knew, or they knew he wasn't playing on Wednesday night. Knew it. The surgery was scheduled Wednesday. What the fuck? That was so annoying. Like, Colin Morikawa, you get hurt, you get hurt. There's nothing you can do about it.
I like how you just said, what the fuck?
I mean,
that's
seriously.
He was.
I had multiple lineups of Colin Morikawa and Fox.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Multiple Fox Kawa lineups last week. Shot to hell.
I had both too.
Yeah. No, I had both, but I had both paired together. I just kept constantly going Kawa, Fox, and then building up the lineup.
It's funny. I heard Andy Lack on his show say something that really resonated with me. He said that last week he's like, when the Morikawa news comes out, and he had, I think, Morikawa, Knapp, and somebody else, and I had Rory, Knapp, and Morikawa 3 weeks in a row. It's like he's like, I had this like 15-minute stretch where I'm like, it's over for me, and I did too. I'm like, I don't even know if I like DFS golf anymore. Like, this is maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm clearly just not. It's not made for me. Yeah, that sucks. It's only happened like what 3-4 times ever to me, and now it's happened 3 weeks in a row. It's like, what the hell?
In a row.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Steven, who's your one and done this week?
I'm gonna go with Akshay.
Akshay Bhatia for him. Okay. All right. So did we agree on what we're doing, Jason? Are we picking his lineup for him?
No, Steve can do the order.
All right, Steve, you get to pick the order.
We will go. Phil, man, you were really trying to take a second pick last week from Elise. Those first few picks. I'm watching the show back. I was like, wow. I was like, all right, Phil really likes being picking second.
I have a perfectly good excuse. I wrote the wrong names down on my sheet here in the wrong order.
Can we just talk about how every one of Elise's picks played good last week? Killed us.
Yeah, I mean, she just dominated with Xander, Cam.
The worst play was got her up, and he had like 65 points or something.
Yeah, she killed it. All right, Steven, what's the order this week?
Phil, me, and then Jason.
Oh, giving yourself number 2.
Yeah.
All right, so that means I got to go first. So I am going to start it off with a Brooksy Koepka. My one and done.
And I will start with Akshay.
I'm going to take Bridgman. And
really predictable start here, right?
Hold on. I'm going to see what I'm going to do next. Give me a sec. Bridgman for sure.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go Smotherman, actually.
All right. I'm going to go with Alex Smalley.
Oh, you're pulling a Jason, taking a name that we didn't talk about. Getting a little sly there,
He misses a lot of cuts here, though.
Yeah, he did. Max Homa and Bud Cauley are my next 2 picks.
All right. So me, let's go with Rio Hitsatsune.
I mean, love me some Rio Hitsatsune.
I'm gonna go Fitz, and then I'm gonna go. I'll go Niergaard Peterson.
Gotcha.
Very high on him this week.
I'm gonna go with Patrick Rogers.
Thought you were gonna say Cantlay.
Yeah, I thought you're going. Well, let's see if I go him, and then I go. Let's see here. What that put me at that, which would leave me with that. Yeah, I can't do that. That's an ugly looking lineup. So we will go Nikolai Højgaard and Nikolai Højgaard.
I like that pick.
And what's that put me at? I take him. Yeah, Nikolai Højgaard and Christian Bezuidenhout.
Can we do a little sidebar on Seabass? I don't think I've ever gotten him right in the history of DFS. Like, I like the guy a lot, and I play him a lot. I think
he's an okay DFS play. I don't think he's ever going to win an event. And if he does, it's going to be the Butterfield Bermuda Classic or whatever.
I've just never got him right. Like, every time I like him, it never works out.
Yeah.
He disappointed a lot of people last week.
Yeah, me. He was in some lineups.
I'm going to go with Castillo. Isn't that how he said he likes to?
Yeah, that's how it's said. Yeah. It made 0 sense. I'm gonna go John Perry, and then I'm gonna go Nick Taylor.
Good call. I like Nick Taylor this week.
Going with all the bogey.
All right, I'll go with I'm gonna go with Rasmus Højgaard.
Underrated pick this week, I feel like.
And I'll go with Tigala this week. All right. Lineups are built. We posted all of our bets over on Twitter. But as a quick recap, we'll all go over our outrights here real quick. I got Fitz 18-1. Even though I'm not playing Victor Hovland, I did bet Victor Hovland just because this event has actually had multiple repeat winners at it at 16-1.
Yeah.
I did bet Mac Meisner at 90-1. Thigala 37-1. Patrick Rogers 68. Thigala 37. And Rio Hisasune at 46-1. Some of those bets are on DraftKings. Some of them are Fanatics based off of the better odds. Plus top 10s and top 20s for both. All of those guys this week.
Nice.
Jason?
I have Bridgman plus 2250. I have Connors at 32. Hit Satsune at 42. Smotherman at 56. And Nearguard Peterson at 105.
Nice.
And finally?
I got Bridgman and Justin Thomas both at 23-1. Koepka 28-1. Thigala 37-1. And then Max Homa 64-1.
Awesome. All right, real quick.
Such a weird number.
Yeah, it is. All the numbers are weird. It's not even on DraftKings, on Fanatics as well.
Why? Do we know why? Or is it just...
No one said anything. No one's answered. No one knows.
I don't understand. Okay.
I don't know anyway. Anyway, so real quick, we're here to the end of the show. We wrapped up pretty quickly. So I wanted to bring up another topic here with Jason and Steve, because obviously on Tuesday or Wednesday last week before the Players' Championship, CEO of the PGA Tour, Brian Roloff, had his State of the Tour Union address with the media and brought up a bunch of ideas and things that they are discussing in the competition committee on changes coming potentially next season. And I'm going to run through some of the key highlights here, and I want to get Jason and Steve's ideas. I already recorded a video with mine, but the first thing he's talking about doing is at a minimum doubling the amount of signature events to 16, hopefully up to 20 signature events, making them all 120-man with cut fields and running most weeks, if not all the weeks, alternate events with relegation and promotion. That's idea one. Part two of it is cutting out the Hawaii Tour altogether and starting late January with a primetime event going till early September. They did not say if that means no fall swing, which I doubt, but that's what they want the schedule to be. They obviously want to go to more bigger markets like Philly and New York and San Francisco more frequently. And they're talking about bringing in match play for the championship, whether it's for the entire playoffs or just the Tour Championship with the final 28 or 30 guys. So, Jason, we'll start with you. I know we all kind of dabbled with this, but if you want to put your thoughts on these potential changes out there, what do you think of these things? Do you like any of them? Hate some of them?
My first thought when you said the elevated events, the extra elevated events, I thought no. I just don't like the way they do them right now, but I think the reason why I don't like them is also solved by this, and being that they're all cut events. Mm-hmm. I just hate the no cut events. I think, and I think the limited field, being like 70, 75 guys right now is too small, but I don't mind the 120 as much. I kind of like the idea of the relegation and the promotion thing. I think that's pretty cool. I just like the way that we're moving in the right direction. We're thinking of these good ideas, and I think the previous administration, or whatever you want to call it, they didn't know what they were doing. I think for the most part, the elevated events have kind of been a flop. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'll probably get some shit for that, and people don't agree necessarily, but I just don't like the fact that there's no cut. There's only 75 guys, how close they are together in the spacing. And I think maybe if we space them out a little bit, and there's a few more, but they're a little bit more spaced out, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. So I'm for it. I'm glad they're making changes. And I think the kind of the elevated tour versus the downgraded tour, I think that's cool. So
now we're basically going to have the Pro Tour, the AAA Tour, and the AA Tour on the Corn Ferry Tour. So basically what you're doing is you're creating 3 tours now instead of 2 tours. Steven, what do you think here?
Yeah, being the soccer guy, I'm all for regulation and a promotion sort of system, right? I think that's cool. It's not going to give you the same golfers each week. You're not just going to be able to go, oh yeah, well, he earned his card for the rest of the season, so he'll be here. No, you might have to go and play, and maybe if you don't do well in the let's say the DP World Tour is the one that's a step down, and if you don't do well there, maybe you get knocked all the way down to the Corn Ferry Tour, right? So it makes guys really have to be on their game. You can't just pick and choose which tournaments you want to be in. If you're going to be an elite golfer, go out there and show it, prove it each week, and that's kind of like what we're getting a little bit right now with this season with the schedule change. I think that's why you're getting a little bit more top heavy fields like this versus guys who are, I'll go over and play at the Puerto Rico and instead of, playing over here. Whatever tournament that was that week.
Are already being, I don't want more signature events. Just spread them out a little bit better. You're talking, if you go to say, he said double, but he hopes to get it to 20. You do 20 signature events, you do the 4 majors, and you do the players. That's 25 events, right? These golfers can't even handle playing 6 weeks in a row without burning out and breaking their backs. Like we're going to burn. You're only allowed to skip 1 signature event. All right, so maybe they let these guys skip 2 signature events. Yeah, or 4 or 5. I don't think doubling the signature events is good. Plus, I don't think there's enough quality golfers to fill out the signature events, the alternate events, and the Corn Ferry Tour. It's just basically going to be the Corn Ferry Tour in the relegation league, and I don't think that's necessary. I like the no cut, or I like adding the cut. I like bumping up, the signature events. But you don't need to have that many signature events, and I think it actually does a disservice to the tour in general, having that many events with that kind of status on it. So I don't think it's necessary whatsoever.
Most events are going to be signature events. I don't really like that.
So basically what they're doing is they're doing away with the signature events. Yeah. If you really break it down, they're eliminating signature events and they're splitting the tour in 2, majors and AAA, which I thought was the Corn Ferry. So I don't think which event is it, the Detroit Open or the John Deere Classic in the middle? It gets like an awful field every July or whatever. Yeah. John Deere, and I'm just sitting there thinking, could you imagine being John Deere? And John Deere wouldn't be a signature event. John Deere would be an alternate event, probably. Yeah. So now John Deere gets maybe 5 top 50 or 60 players. John Deere ain't getting anybody in the top 100 now.
Probably not even. Yeah, I was gonna say probably.
So you're doing a disservice to your sponsors as well, in my opinion.
Well, do the sponsors change then too? Are you going to see maybe because I would assume if these are going to be considered signature events, isn't the money going to go up?
That's
how much you can earn. So that might be what makes the golfers. Right. Hey, we're used to taking that family vacation, but if the season is getting shrunk to January to September sort of deal, well, hey, we got the end of summer and we have the whole holidays to do stuff, and I'm out here, getting 20th place because my back hurts, but I'm still grinding and still getting a nice little chunk of change because maybe, I don't know what's a huge name. Maybe, I don't know, what's a big name that could replace John Deere. Cadillac is a tournament this year for the first time. Does I don't know. I can't think of is Lamborghini.
They just need to spread out the signature portion of it. That's all I think they need to do.
I think it's 2 interesting questions. I think do the signature events rotate? That might be the fix to John Deere, Detroit, 3M, the smaller tournaments. That's one question. And I think Steve brought up a good point that I was thinking about too, is that the money, are all these, the purses are so big in these signature events, the winner's getting 3.25 or $3.5 million. It's in a normal event, the winner's getting 1.4, 1.5. It's that's a huge difference. And I'm not sure these sponsors are going to shell that out necessarily. And it makes you wonder.
The other big thing I want to talk about, because I know some of you guys don't like it, and those that have been watching this show, we're, in 3 weeks, we're celebrating the 6-year anniversary of the first ever, DFS show we ever did, Jason and I, for the November Masters. It'll be our 6th Masters show we've ever done, which is sick and crazy in my mind. Is I cried the day that the PGA Tour eliminated the WGC match play. It was my favorite alternate event they did. I don't care about Zurich and tag team, I don't care about the Ryder Cup. I love match play golf. And the fact that they're talking about bringing it back for the Tour Championship, They also talking about making the whole playoff system which I don't think it's necessary. But if you give me the top 32 or top 16 golfers on the last weekend of the year, just going head to head, 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, and just do it tournament style, I would be ecstatic. And I think it's a great way to really, finish the season with that match play. I love it. What do you guys think of the match play idea?
I hope it's just for the championship. I hope it's not for all the playoffs. I think the championship, it's a cool idea. They've tried to figure out with doing the tiered starts with the 10 under, the 8 under.
I hate that.
Horrible.
That was a disaster.
So
But also,
bad.
I see their point of you don't want Xander to win at Eastlake and then have Scottie win for Player of the Year. That's a disaster too. So I'm not sure what the solution is there.
Yeah, I don't know. Steve?
Championship round. Make that match play. It's a change of pace. It's a change of mindset. The viewer, you're really getting what we got kind of last week for those last 3 holes between Fitz and Cam Young. You're getting that for a whole Sunday with guys out here really going at it head to head for Tour Championship. So, like Jason said in the very beginning, the fact you're even thinking about these things and not just coming in here thinking everything's good. No, you are seeing that golf has taken a tick up with its viewer. The age has come down a little bit.
1 million more people watched the final round of the Players than last year. It was the highest rated final round of the Players in over 5 years.
Yep.
So
every other sport is adapting and changing to the times and to the audience. And the fact that golf is a sport that is really known to be, boring stereotypically, look what you're getting here. So I think golf is getting ready to be in good hands and good years to come.
Yep, absolutely. All right, real quick, before we wrap this up, guys, I've been getting a lot of bashing on the morning show because I don't really care about the World Baseball Classic. But you got Team USA. Are either of you guys World Baseball Classics? Do you watch it? Do you pay attention?
Look at who
You've watched every
USA
single
starting tonight.
This guy's watching it all. You're not watching it. I'm not watching any of it.
It's a pretend. I'm out.
I watched everything except for one group stage game.
Yeah.
I'm more into it than I was with the Olympics and the hockey team.
Wow.
I have no problem with the Phillies guys being in it. I'm one of those guys where as long as they're not, I don't know, they're not getting hurt. They're playing baseball. You know what I mean? They're going to get these reps in spring training, sort of deal. These reps mean something though. And you mean to tell me if what Citizens Bank Park isn't going to be electric, they win tonight for that home opener and for those games moving forward, and for all those other ballparks where these guys are at, the Venezuelan guys, even if they lose, they're going to be able to go back to their teams, and the fan bases, for me at least, the ones who are in it, I feel like are going to enjoy this at least the beginning of the season until their teams start to suck, right? But I've been all in on it.
I think the weird part is okay, so Scooble's been a big story about it, right? Because he pitched the one game and then he left or whatever. It's it would be kind of cool. He said he's going to be in the dugout, he's dressing or whatever for Team USA, but he's not going to pitch. It's instead of having him pitch yesterday or 2 days ago in spring training, why not have him pitch in the final? That would have been cool, but I don't know.
It's just a glorified
Exhibition.
Yeah, it's an exhibition.
Players are saying this means more.
It means more to Japan. It means more to the players in Dominican, Venezuela, and stuff like that. Yeah. Somebody commented on my show the other day that baseball is not America's pastime anymore. It's more of an international sport than it used to be. It's bigger in other countries than America at some point. So maybe it means a lot more to them. But to me, it doesn't mean anything. And I could care less about tonight's game. So call me anti-American, but that's what I got for you guys. Soldier Steve, Jason Sullivan. I'm Phil Stifel. We'll be back next week the Houston, Texas Open, right? Yep. We'll be back with Houston, Texas Open next week.
Vallero's
next week. Vallero's next week, then Houston the week after that. Yeah. The Texas Swing starts next week. The last tune-up for a lot of guys for the Masters. So with that being said, guys, everybody have a great day. Again, like, share, subscribe, drop your comments. We'll answer them on the replay, gang. Have a good week, guys. Bubbles up.